Everyone, to all of you. It's nice to catch up with all of you during these very difficult times, but it is an interesting period because of all the years that I have been involved in the environmental canvassing purpose. I think this is one of the most challenging and also the most interesting because it recalls a lot of what I have been saying for so many years. So I have put together a small presentation and some ideas that I want to share with you so that we can have a better future, so that we don't have to keep reminding ourselves of what we have been said in the past. I say that because of all the animals on this planet, we humans are the only species that can recall the past, live in the present, and think about how we should live in the future. So in this process, we can either make ourselves a better world for the future, or we can make it bad or worse than what it was. So let me go into the situation why we are here. With the clouds with silver lining, COVID and biodiversity is what I have titled myself to speak to you, but I am sure I will probably digress and go into so many other things in the process. In the absence of commuting, in the absence of activity, the air has become clean. There's plenty of evidence. As you can see in this slide, this is a slide from India, the same location, photographs before and after, or during COVID or now. So you can see how clean the air is. And there's evidence from satellite imagery, which clearly shows the nitrous oxides have come down in areas where it was very much. Then we can really ask ourselves if, as I said before, we have the capacity to experience and think about the past, then this is a point to think. Where were we living? We have been living in a highly polluted environment. The air that we were breathing were not clean, and today we are breathing clean air and living in a happy world around in that sense. There are so many other things that are also becoming a little concern to us. Consumption has somewhat gone up in certain items, even though it may not have been in terms of food and so on. But even that is a bit of a question. You can see the plastic industry is now trying to make use of the opportunity and trying to seek to take away all the restrictions that had been placed before, and so that they can go back into producing more plastics. Of course, yes, there is a need that has arisen out of the situation, but should we therefore not only think of it as a situation for the moment rather than a situation on the long term and work backwards? So that is a major concern. Things in the shops have all gone away. The panic buying has resulted in many shelves being empty. The consumption volume has definitely increased, and this is being reflected in the food production across the world. It has resulted in increased waste, because we know we as humans, the only animal that produces waste, has caused this difference. And we can see in this graph that has been the pie chart showing waste paper plastics only 45% in March of 2016-19, while in 2020 March it has gone up to 56%, which is almost a 10% increase. So there is a concern. Even the chemicals have gone up by about 10%. Like rubber has not changed, it has reduced, but all of these go. And of course we have the other picture, which is the medical waste, which is definitely higher than what it was. So with that, we can ask the question, where did this virus come from? We know that this virus is a natural virus that existed in nature. However, it got itself transmitted onto humans, and there it is the problem. The coronavirus, what is called COVID-19, was a natural virus that was available among the animals. This is not a new situation. We have seen this happening many, many times. You can see more than 60 to 75% of all known diseases of the past, this has happened. These are called zoonosis or zoonotic, that is the technical term that is used, but forget it. But these are situations where naturally occurring viruses come on to the human body, and because we are not its natural host, we become victims of the situation. This has happened before. In 2012, there was the MERS. In 2002, there was the SARS, and there is Ebola still around, but very high in 2014-15, avian flu, and so on. In real fact, it is much, much more. Kate Jones, chair of the Ecology and Biodiversity of UCLA, has said 335 diseases has emerged since 1960 to 2004. We have been talking of these as emerging infectious diseases. Emerging because they have been in existence, but they come out of like a shell or come out of nature onto a new host, which is the humans, because we are increasing in numbers and we are coming into more closer contact with the fauna and the flora, which is the biodiversity. While we are destroying it, we are reducing their capacities to survive, and those parasitic or those viruses are also looking for places to survive, and they find a very interesting and very amenable host, which is the humans, which is prolific in numbers and increasing and incursing into the biodiversity areas. So what more can you expect? And there are more to come. And this is just a very good message for everybody. In this situation of the COVID-19, we have been told that it was from the bat. It was in the bat, but the bat contains it and it doesn't cause a problem to the bat. However, from the bat, it is been thought that it may have gone into the pangolins, which is being eaten quite a lot in China. And from these pangolins, which are available in the so-called wet markets of China, because they eat a lot of different kinds of animals, which has historic backgrounds. It is not something that we should be looking down upon. There are reasons for those things in that culture and in that society. But however, in this situation, it is believed that from the bat, through the pangolin, it comes into the market, and from the market system, it gets into the human body, and that is how we have been affected. So you can see that there are many multiple factors which are contributing to this situation of a naturally occurring virus coming into the human body and just becoming a problem. Deforestation, antimicrobial resistance built by so many actions that we do, intensified agriculture, livestock production, illegal activities, and of course, in the midst of all of these things, the ambient temperature, which is being reflected through climate change. Because as the temperatures increase also, we know in our basic biology that the biodiversities become active, and therefore they could also become more mutants and more virulent and change in style as fast as they can. And all of these things ultimately result in some issue at the end of the day. And here we are with COVID-19, which definitely has to do with all of these facts. It is difficult to say that this is the fact, but they are all contributing. So the SOS was very clear. As I said, we have been saying that these things are going to happen someday, but now it has happened. Where will we go for the future? It's going to be a new future. The future, to me, as an environmentalist, is based on what I have been professing for so many years. Now, this is the 45th year in which I have been talking about the environment. And all along, we have been considered those people who have been mad people, who have been sounding the wrong things, and they were obstructors and people who were breaking 16 systems down and so on and so forth. But the real fact is that now we have experienced what the wrath of nature can be when we try to fight against it. We have to live with nature. There is no question about it. Our future, which I found very conveniently said by the European Union Minister for Foreign Affairs, Joseph Borrell, is going to be what we have to look forward for in the future. How? It's going to be a big debate. How we are going to redefine ourselves, redesign ourselves, some of the activities that have been ongoing with respect to climate change, decarbonization, zero growth systems, zero carbon growth systems, and so on and so forth, and not using high productive systems by manipulating the genes and so on and so forth are going to be visited over and over again to realize and recognize how best we should be planning ourselves for the future. COVID-19 will reshape our world. We don't yet know when the crisis will end, but we can be sure that by the time it does, our world will look very different. We follow through with something that I have been using very commonly in most of my lectures, something that Albert Einstein had said: problems cannot be solved within the mindset that created them. Given the scale and nature of the environment problems, we need new mental models and ways of thinking to solve them. This is a good wake-up call for us to realize that we cannot dissociate ourselves completely away from biodiversity, nor can we get rid of biodiversity and think that we can survive in the planet. The exercise for the future will definitely be how we can come into harmony and symbiosis with the biodiversity that is around us. And in fact, sometimes maybe think about how to increase it so that it looks after itself while we look after ourselves in our confinements. So this is a very interesting situation. We will really revisit many of these issues, even though they are not the ones to be spoken of at this very instant. As things settle down, definitely we will have to start discussing about what environment we want. Are we going to go back to the polluted air that existed before the COVID-19 became rampant? Are we going to go back to reducing the amount of plastic so that the microplastic issue is no longer going to be part of it? Are we going to go back to see that we will continue to canvas to reduce the consumption and thereby live within the footprint of the planet? Or are we going to think that going back to the economy that we had and thinking that that is what will be the savior of the planet and ourselves? I think we will be making a big mistake. To me, I think the economists are going to be the drivers, and they will have to come up with a very good alternative for all of us so that we don't have to suffer anymore in this way in the environment that we put together, which is our social environment. So thank you very much. Think hard, because we are the ones who will have to make the difference. If we do not make the difference from the lessons that we learned today, then the future is going to be even more dark. Asanawan, Subhanagateak, Peruan Sarma.